All right, guys. Celsius almost killed Carlos and ruined his life. This is why I love America, because the metric system, you know,
The metric system. Even if something kills you, if there's money to be made, put it on the shelves.
I embrace Fahrenheit. I don't embrace the Celsius. So what happened? Why'd you almost what happened on
Oh
Monday?
no, I was saying before we went live that I missed the Memorial Day show because I got sick, and as of now, I'm attributing it to Celsius. There was one other thing that it could have been. Could have been these burgers that we got from Costco, but I'd eaten them before, so it was fine. And it was funny because like 2 days later, that report came out that somebody got really sick from Celsius, and that's what caused the stock to tank, right? Didn't the guy get like real sick?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So on Memorial Day, we had run out of something, and I said I'll run to the store real quick, and I'll just go pick it up. When I get in there, there's a big Celsius thing being like buy one get one free. I was like, oh, you know what? I've always wanted to try these. I almost even sent you guys a picture. I might have even taken a picture, and I was going to send it to the group. So I picked up two of them, and what's up, Kris? You're muted.
Wong, so you just drank a Monster. Okay, great.
Were you hearing what was going on, Kris, before you came
Yeah,
on?
you said that you were drinking a Celsius.
Yeah, so my first one, I picked up three of them. One, it was like buy one get one free. So I picked up three of them. Figured to give one to my wife, and I'll take the two. And I had I forgot what it was, the watermelon. The drink is amazing. I mean, it tastes absolutely amazing. But you're looking at the can, and it's like there's nothing in it that makes it sweet. They have their own things that make it sweet, but it's like it's a really good flavor for something that doesn't seem to have anything that makes it sweet. I started drinking it. Within a few minutes, I started feeling a bit odd, like a bit shaky. Anyway, I finished that one. It knocked out the other one. And by the time I finished the second one and I finished eating, like I just had no appetite anymore. I got really shaky. I kept running back and forth to the bathroom. And I just thought it was, oh, maybe it was the burger. Maybe it was this. But it just kept getting worse and worse progressively. I ended up spending the majority of the day just running around in the bathroom all day. And that's why I missed the pod. That's why I missed the pod on that day. I was like,
I don't think you're supposed to drink that much in one shot because it has a lot of caffeine in it, right? That's like the reason why it's an
found
energy
out 2
drink.
days later. I saw the post that the guy got sick, and I had gone to the hospital. I guess almost died because he surpassed the 2 Celsius a day maximum. They said maximum of 2 per day, and he was doing, I guess, more than 2 per day. I'd never heard any of that. I just drank it like I would normally drink it. It tastes really good, so it goes down smooth. But man, that was not a good feeling. It was with me for maybe about 3 days. What's Rafi here at 6:05? Do you normally consume coffee? Yeah, I'll have my coffee in the morning, or sometimes 1 or 2 cups in the morning. I'm not a stranger to caffeine.
So
Did you run out of shaving cream too, Amit? I ran out of shaving cream, so I was like, crap! I gotta tell my wife.
I don't shave, dude. I go to the barber to get shaved. I don't shave at all.
That guy.
Yeah, I never shaved.
Like another man, like rubbing the face.
Well, actually, dude, yeah, like I love that when they I really like when they massage my thing, but sometimes they don't do it, and I'm sad. And like,
yo, I'm kidding. Going to the barbers are actually awesome when they put.
Oh, it's great, dude.
Oh
Just
man,
sit there and think while another guy rubs.
I used to go with my dad. We were young,
dude.
Watching like that's a thing. You like, yeah, it's a man's thing, Did
I ever tell you the story? Did I ever tell you the story of 9 months ago? I went to the barber and they hired a new guy. I'd never seen him before at my local shop. And we just start talking. He's really friendly with me. We start talking about life, all this stuff. And I'm like, I was just like, so how's the past start of the year been? I think this was early 2023. He's like, oh, I just got back from jail. I was like, how long you were in jail? He's like 17 years.
Yeah, you just got.
I was like, why'd you go to jail? He was like, I stabbed somebody, I killed them. I was like, he has a blade in my fucking face. and then I was like, why'd you do that?
You're like, I'm just gonna give you my tip now. Here's $50.
He was like, because they talk shit about me while I was, massaging their face. No, he was like, he got him into a gang fight, and he got there, and it was self-defense. So like someone pulled a gun on his boy. He pulled out his knife. He attacked, but the judge wasn't buying that it was a self-defense thing. I was obviously listening to the story saying, oh, 100%, that was self-defense, bro. That judge is fucking crazy. That was self-fucking-defense. So I bought into it. If
there was ever a case of self-defense.
I mean, that's the case. There you go.
Textbook.
But honestly, he was one of the nicest people out there ever. He has 2 daughters. He was talking about, what it means to, like, he hadn't had an iPhone in 17 years. Like he was like, what was life? He's coming back into the modern era.
Yeah.
And so that was a really interesting experience. And now he's one of my good friends. I follow him on Instagram. He's awesome. He's dope.
I had a buddy of mine that I worked on a documentary on a buddy of mine who went to jail, and he actually was wrongfully accused, and he was in jail, I think 25 to life. They eventually got him out after 15 years. And he was telling a story in the doc about he would look out the window and just see a tree, and he hadn't touched a tree in like 15 years. And so when they finally got him out, the cameras are there, and he walks out and like he just walks over to a tree and just like fucking touch it. It's like the most powerful thing ever. This guy, 15 years. And he was same deal. He's like, I had no idea that the world had changed the way it did. All of a sudden, it's like iPhones, internet, all this shit. It's crazy. Pick any random 15 years and disappear, and the world won't seem. You'll just seem like
it's a crazy experience.
You know what I mean?
Now he's on TikTok. He's making videos, building his brand. So it's awesome. But it was definitely it was tough for him to be there for so long. All right, Kris. So what the fuck's going on with Celsius? Like, what's happening right now?
Valuation resetting a little bit lower. I mean, so here's the thing. You have to go back into the history of Celsius to find out what exactly is happening. So number one, Celsius is not like a brand new brand, right? They've been around for a while. They really started to hit it off with a distribution deal with Anheuser-Busch first. So a lot of people think it's the Pepsi deal that really made them. It's actually the Anheuser-Busch deal that they had that really got them distribution. So when it comes to any consumer packaged good, you need two things. You need a great product with amazing branding, right? So that's one side of the coin. And the other one is strong distribution. The more distribution you have, the more it's in front of people. So all the branding and marketing lends to getting people's awareness. And the part two is letting people get the product itself. So if you have one without the other, you're completely lost. If you have great distribution, but no one knows who you are, no one's going to buy your shit. If everyone knows who you are, but they can't get to the product, then you're not going to make any sales. So you kind of need both. So they had a big deal with Anheuser-Busch, and then they were eventually able to graduate and get a bigger distribution deal with Pepsi. Pepsi really took on a lot of inventory last year to build up the channel, and that caused a lot of sales to be kind of brought forward a little bit. So now the comped numbers for Celsius going forward are really, really hard. They're, if you grew 100% revenue year over year, it's not easy to keep repeating that. So they're growing at 35% year over year right now. And what's happening is the data that's coming out from like Nielsen is saying, well, look, the sales data is slowing down. Like, yeah, motherfucker, like, of course it's slowing down compared to last year. That's just, you can't grow infinite like that. It's just not how it works. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people are taking that into consideration. Another thing is there's reports that Celsius has health concerns that are valid, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not saying that energy drinks in general are healthy, but the thing is the marketing around Celsius has always been, we're the healthy energy drink. And the thing is, a lot of the data that's coming out is kind of pointing to the opposite of that. And so the narrative.
How could they, but don't they have like mixed drinks? Don't they have like drinks that you make with that? Like, how can you have something that limits you to 2 a day, but then market it as like, oh, when you're going out, this is like the party drink? Because even Red Bull, I don't think they have limits like that. And then you can
go there. Do. Red Bull does
Red Bulls a day. Dude, people drink multiple Red Bulls a day. Like people stay up all night drinking Red Bulls. That's
what I'm saying.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to.
But no one ever died. I mean, I'm sure there's some cases, but it's not common. People pass out or die because
Red Bull and vodka is like a thing.
Yeah,
right. But the challenge here with Celsius itself is that it has a lot of caffeine.
Why? Why does it have so much caffeine? Why?
Well,
that's what gives you that energy, right?
No, but why does Red Bull and Monster not need that much excessive caffeine?
Red Bull is sugar, not caffeine.
Oh, there's zero free sugar on all of them.
Well, there's the zero sugar, but it tastes different. It's a different.
Okay, one of the big differentiators is that you get this additional boost of energy that you may not be getting from the other guys, And the thing is, the artificial sweeteners that they use are also something that, it's not really that great for you. And depending on your constitution, could actually be detrimental to your gut health as well. So that there's complications around how healthy these artificial sugars really are for you. And so that kind of gets played into the equation as well. So, look, every consumer packaged good has some level of detriment to over usage. Okay. Like you're telling, you can go to McDonald's every other week, had a couple of cheeseburgers, it's not going to affect your life. But if you do nothing but eat fucking McDonald's every day, you're going to die. You know what I mean?
Actually, that happened last week. Morgan Spurlock died. last
Yeah,
week.
well, he didn't die
eat it
because of
every day.
McDonald's.
He died, but I'm saying, you know,
Right.
definitely.
Buffett's
He had
the
like
answer to
liver
that.
problems too. He was hiding alcoholism at the same time.
Right.
But I mean,
And like I said, it goes for anything. It's like, okay, you eat a couple of cookies a day, it's not going to kill you. But if your entire dietary plan is I'm just going to eat cookies and ice cream, bro, you're gonna eventually it's gonna come and catch up to you. So it's the same thing with
someone's got to tell it to
Celsius.
my daughter.
Yeah. It
Okay,
comes
but
with
how do
Celsius,
we
yeah.
think of the stock now? Is this a buy on the dip, or what do you?
I don't think so. I think it's gotten a little ahead of itself like my price target for Celsius was $100 by 2026. It wasn't by 2026 of May. You know what I mean? 26th of May. So the thing is, like, sometimes what happens is great companies tend to sometimes, like, just the excitement can get really out there. So I ended up taking, I wouldn't call it a bearish position, but what I did is I took risk off the table a couple of weeks ago by selling my $100 calls and just buying buying the $100 calls back and then selling $80 calls against it. So this way I was able to lock in a lot of that profit. And so now all of those contracts that I sold, right, the $80 ones, they're coming down now. So sometimes what happens is you have companies that have this giant wave of euphoria, and so you have to make a calculated move saying, okay, is this deserved or is it not? Now, here's the thing. If Celsius was able to still maintain that huge growth rate, about 50-70% somehow, dude, I totally think that they deserve $100. But dude, the growth rate is slowed down to 35%, and they have really, really tough comps against last year. So that means that the rest of the year, it's going to be really difficult for them to grow beyond 35%.
Also, people have to remember this stock is 30x'd since 2020. Yeah. It's not like
15 billion. Yeah. And
I mean, if you got in, you got in. But if you got in at 40, 50, 60 bucks, like a lot of people made money on this stock already.
86. Yeah. No, when you were talking about this, it was the right time. It was
50 bucks. Yeah. Around
because you were getting to that part where they were going to have the breakout quarter where it becomes obvious, right?
Well, not only that, but the options at that time were selling super cheap.
Yeah.
So a lot of times what happens is when you have volatility, because a lot of the way that options work is all based on volatility, right? So if you have a long string of kind of like flatness in the stock, the price of the options going forward are not going to be as expensive. If you have a company that's like their standard deviation is super high, like it keeps moving up and down, that means that now the IV is going to be much higher. Right. So because of that, the options pricing is going to be really bad too. So when I mean bad, I mean it's going to be really high. So sometimes you can sometimes you can take advantage of these one-off events where you see a sell-off in a great name that's growing at a really fast pace, but the market hadn't recognized that, and you were able to get options super cheap. Like it's the same thing with AMIT. He did the exact same thing with Robinhood, right? Robinhood was kind of flatlined for a while, so all the options that he was able to pick up were really discounted. Once when
you were originally looking at Celsius, what was the put call spread?
What do you mean?
Like at the time, forward looking, were markets generally bearish? Were they more call?
Bank of America tanked them. They put out a report, and that's why they fell.
You're saying
in
this
January.
is right in January. Okay, right. So then markets got really bearish. Call options got really cheap, but they were already in line to have a breakout quarter. But that's like, a three-way, like a unicorn event.
The argument Bank of America made was that the energy drink TAM was not as big as what people thought it was. And
that's not the way I would. And that's the other thing too. Like they were gaining market share throughout the entire process, right? So there definitely still is a fundamental like interest in Celsius going forward. I'm not saying it's not, but the valuation has to dip below a good amount for it to become like a value play again, So the thing is, you guys got, and everyone has to remember here, everything's about valuation at the end of the day. I know for the buy and hold crowd, they don't like that. They're just like, no, it doesn't matter. You should just buy and hold it forever. But I don't subscribe to that philosophy. I'm more like, hey, when it's cheap, buy it. When it's expensive, sell it. And then you can kind of figure out in the middle what to do, and here's the thing. The entry price for me was super low. The exit price was super high. So I collected a good amount that I can sit on, that now I'm kind of just de-risked myself a lot from that. So, yeah.
Well, I'm glad you made money, but I am never touching this stuff again. I'm not touching it. there's something. I don't know what they're. Maybe it's like I'm like legacy, and you have to be like human 2.0 to be able to process some of the shit that they're putting out there. But I just can't. Just give me a protein shake, a banana, and a freaking granola bar.
Okay, so speaking of stocks that took a beating, we'll talk about the Trump stuff in a second, guys, but let's get this out of the way. Salesforce and Path. Salesforce down 20% on the day.
Dude, Snowflake is down. Everyone,
Snowflake's
SAS got its ass handed to it, bro.
SAS got its ass handed
was
to
fine,
it.
wasn't it?
But Palantir was the one SAS. I didn't say it. You said it. I didn't bring it up. But
yeah, because they conveniently conveniently got lucky with a stupid defense contract announcement on the day.
No.
Warren,
because the AI superstar is not some stupid fucking snowflake in the winter.
Oh,
it's
please.
the Lord of the Rings.
But then Warren quote tweeted you, and he was like, "That whatever that deal is like represents 0.4 or less than."
Warren is not smart when it comes to Palantir. He's an amazing man.
Warren's looking for a place to park his Tesla money when he sells, and they won't know. That's what he's like. And he was like, Palantir. He's like, well,
okay, hold on. So
ET
said admit acting like he didn't bring it up 3 times on market close. Guys, the market close audience is a different audience than finance junkies. On market close, when Snowflake went to 135, it was like, dude, we were like a cult fucking clapping our hands seeing that red. But on finance junkies, we're a little bit more professional, talking about why the equity markets experienced a little bit of a downslide on one of those equities named after a fucking snowflake, dude. That's what we're talking about. So, okay,
there's a huge arbitrage. Well, I wouldn't call it arbitrage, but there is a huge opportunity thanks to Robinhood right now. If you guys want to hear it
about Snowflake,
well, not about Snowflake, about just general the market.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so save that thought. Let's just do quickly what's going on with SAS, and then we'll go to that. So yeah, Palantir kind of survived because they got a big government deal, so that's done well. I did a video on that on my channel. You can check it out. But why do you think Salesforce got wrecked today, Chris?
Because nobody knows what they do.
What are you talking about? Salesforce? Everyone knows what they do.
I mean, to be honest, dude, I don't really know a customer relationship man. I've never used that.
That's what Kramer was saying. Wasn't that what Kramer was saying? It tanked because, or maybe it was a joke. It was like, because whatever, 16% of people realize they don't know.
I mean, I think the market.
Every single business uses CRM. Every time you call a customer. Okay.
Yeah. No. Chris is right. Every business uses CRM, but I think the market's wondering what AI does CRM do? And so that's, I think, the question for why it's down. But CRM is an industry name. Everybody knows it. So, Chris, why do you think it fell 20%?
Growth expectations are not there. That's all. I mean, everyone basically Benioff said, hey, the market is the market. What do you want us to do about it? We got to slow down. That's it. And he said that. And now everyone's like, wait a second. Demand for SaaS is not high. What are we going to do? And so a lot of people.
But we got to dig deeper than that, because this is the first time they've missed in 19 years for their revenue guidance. Is it because they're not selling enough AI?
Their growth has slowed down significantly, dude. Look at their growth rate.
But hold up. But why? Like, why are they slowing down?
That's saturation. Maybe companies are spending less money on software.
No, but that's not true, dude. That's not happening across the board.
Yes, it is. Don't bring up Palantir like you're one goddamn
ready.
No, forget Palantir.
And by the way, Palantir slowed down from what 50% to what 20% right now.
Palantir actually raised guidance on U.S. commercial and overall top line revenue growth last quarter. So that's incorrect.
So what? So two
to 45% U.S. commercial. 45%. Anyway, my point is, if enterprise AI is a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity that every big CEO has talked about, by the way, even C3 AI was up 20% yesterday. Why isn't Salesforce capitalizing on that is my question. There's no reason they should be slowing down. There's nothing macro affecting, like it feels
there
like
there is. That's why it got sold off.
What in the macro is affecting Salesforce?
The companies are scaling back on that spend. They're saying maybe we need to spend money on other things.
I think you're just saying that. I don't think there's any data to back that up yet. You might be right. I don't know if
the data is right there. It's Salesforce's.
No. Hold on, Chris. You're blaming the market versus asking yourself, what if Salesforce just is not selling AI? What if Snowflake actually isn't selling a lot of AI? What if it's the problem with the companies versus the market? That's what I'm trying to
you don't sell AI. You either have AI.
No. Salesforce has Einstein. That's their AI product. I asked a lot of people on Twitter yesterday that use Salesforce, and they're like, dude, Einstein is shit. It's a repackaged LLM that is not valuable at all. And so now I'm thinking, well, wait a second. Is the market thinking, hey, we should put our money somewhere else if Salesforce doesn't have an AI strategy, if it's just CRMs? CRMs are boring, dude. They will sell, but they're not going to put up incredible numbers like an AI-oriented CRM. if they don't have anything to sell when it comes to the AI portion.
I think Salesforce is a little bit different in that number one, you have to look at their acquisitions. Their acquisition of Slack really put them on a negative growth. Well, I wouldn't call it a negative growth trajectory, but it kind of like made a lot of people realize that maybe Benioff is not the greatest capital allocator in terms of total spending. They were spending a crap ton of money that if you look at their net income, it was dismal, but they're improving on their operating metrics, but their overall business is slowing down. And I think that's the case with a lot of enterprise software. It is slowing down. Okay. And regardless what you say about Palantir,
no, but I'm so confused how you come to this conclusion after Salesforce tanks. Where was this conclusion a month ago? Like I think you can't use Salesforce as the reason for why that claim is true.
No, but
if that was the case, you wouldn't have bought more Snowflake, right? You would have said enterprise SaaS is slowing down. Let me not do that. So that's right. I think it's a Salesforce thing. I don't know if it's a market thing yet.
My interpretation is going to be different than what the market thinks. If market says, oh, you know what, Salesforce is a proxy for total revenue spend on SaaS products. So if they're slowing down, everyone else is going to be slowing down. That's on every other investor to,
that's true. Yeah.
Assess. It's not based on my assessment. I think that AI spend is going to be concentrated in really good names. And one of them, I think, is Snowflake. Now, does the market agree with me? No. Otherwise, they wouldn't be selling them off. Now, the market could be wrong and I could be right. That's what we're always trying to do, right? Salesforce stickiest companies almost never leave the platform because it creates too much chaos in sales. That's absolutely the cost to rip Salesforce out and bring in a new CRM is too expensive. So they have an inbuilt moat. The problem is getting new people to use more products is going to be hard. And this is where you'd have to bring someone like, what's his name?
Ram?
God damn it. No, not Ram. Invest to Live. I forgot. Sean. You'd have to bring someone like Sean because this is where industry insiders can give you clues on what companies are doing. So if companies are seeing a weakness in the economy, they want to get ahead of it. And they're like, you know what? Maybe we don't want to spend as much on software sales. Maybe we want to optimize our business. Maybe we want to cut back. So this could be a canary. Well, not a canary in the coal mine, but this could be
it could either be an isolated incident or it could be an industry trend. I agree with you. One or the other.
I think it's an industry trend. I think it's an industry trend.
I was going to ask is, are we starting to see the beginnings of a sell-off? Again, as we go into the summer, we're still in May. We're starting to see some of these companies pull back as we're seeing retail sales suffering. We're finding that consumers weakening. Is this sort of like we've had a good party?
No. Chewy's, Dick's, Abercrombie, Best Buy, Foot Locker. They all crushed earnings. All retail brands. Lowe's and Macy's. The only one that sucked was
but overall consumer spending is down. That's the thing. You're looking at shift. Because the Fed put it out. You just literally had the data the other day. It just came out. The consumer spending was slowing down. GDP is slowing down. Yes, maybe these companies are benefiting from a shift from customers utilizing some
outliers, but the overall people are and what I'm saying is, are they starting to front run and pull some profits as you say, hey, we had a good run. It looks like this is we're now coming up over a peak, and we're going to start to see the effects of a weaker consumer in the next couple of quarters. Let's just start to make our exit, but not make a big deal about it.
I don't know. I mean, that's a very plausible thing. It's going to be really interesting though as a Palantir investor, because if Palantir crushes Q2, I mean, and AI is not slowing down at all for them. If I mean, like, there's a clear winner here, folks. I mean, like,
when do they report?
They're probably in August, but this is going to be the most consequential earnings, because if Snowflake and all these guys still fall off over the next 2 months and Palantir is the only one left, if they don't crush, they're going back to 15, because the market's like, well, this is already a little pricey and there's no AI moat here. It would be tough.
I mean, the data actually came out this week. First quarter, they actually revised, like the Fed actually revised consumer spending numbers lower. So he said, you know what, maybe people didn't spend as much as we originally thought, because a lot of the stuff they have as estimates, GDP is slowing down. So consumer spending slowed down in the first quarter, bringing economic growth down to 1.3%, right? So this is one of those things that you just have to take a cue from the actual data.
Okay, so I guess SaaS doesn't get excited. Well, one more thing on Palantir. If consumer spending is slowing down, but government spending is going up, that might be a hedge against a weakening business enterprise software cycle. Or one more thing, if Palantir Software is actually helping businesses and they say everything else is not helping, that also is another reason Palantir might benefit off of.
I think you're trying to make a bullish case on Palantir by saying, you know what, this company is differentiated. It's not affected by the macro. Its products are unique to the point where, you know, companies are going to shell out more money to them. I mean, look, that's a fair thesis. That's a fair thesis. Anyone can make that claim. I'm just saying the likelihood of it is probably less. So if, let's say, the rally was a monster rally for SaaS and Palantir being a part of that rally, and that's what, you know, and they're going up, I'd say it's more likely that you're right about it. But I guess we'll see when the next quarter's earnings comes out, right?
Yes, I think we will see. And again, the only reason I'm not fully convinced on the SaaS argument is because I looked at Adobe's quarter last time. Adobe sucks. They have no AI moat. Their generative AI moat is bullshit, dude. There's nothing exciting about it. I looked at Einstein yesterday. It's a chatbot. I asked some pretty high people up in data science that work at some, you know, pretty interesting companies, and they were telling me it's bullshit as well. Right. So if Salesforce and Adobe to me are bullshit, MongoDB, they missed on some of their estimates. That's why they fell today. I don't know. I get Intuit's only growing 12% year over year and trading at a 40 PE. Why would you invest in Intuit versus Nvidia? Like, I feel like these are individual companies that are not growing enough, that are not exciting enough. And maybe they're not growing enough because they really don't have an AI offering. And maybe Palantir is also one of those companies. But if it's not, I guess we'll see, as Kris says in Q2, what the results look like.
I think, but I think it's, hold on, you're muted, Kris.
You're muted.
I was going to say, look at the slowdown in Palantir. They're down below 20% total.
No, they're not. They're doing 21% year-over-year growth. What are you talking about?
What?
They're doing 21% year-over-year. You just said they're below 20. 21 is higher than below 20.
So, okay. So what you should do is do it on a 12-month trailing basis and check again. But okay, well, let's go based on that. Even then,
12 months year-over-year, they're growing 21% year-over-ar. Like, what math are you doing? What fancy math are you putting out there, bro?
No. Okay, so clearly you're not getting
maybe I don't know what math you're talking about. Please educate me. They're growing 21% year-over-year. What is
so what you're doing?
Growing 21% revenue?
Yes, top line revenue.
Okay, so here's the thing. What AMIT is saying is technically correct in that, yes, last quarter they had a good quarter where they actually had more sales. They had 20% sales compared to last year.
21%.
21%. But if you're looking on a 12-month trailing basis, right, where you actually like smooth out all these one-off quarters here and there, you can actually see that they're about 17% and trending pretty much flat.
Wait, but why would you smooth out one-off? Why would you take away quarters? What are you
because if you have one or two clients that come in a quarter that absolutely destroy that quarter and make everything go up, that's not a general trend. That just means that you got lucky that quarter.
What are you talking about, dude? So this $480 million contract they got, that should be a one-off quarter that goes away from the analysis because they were lucky.
No, but the way that you would do it is you would smooth it out by going 12-month trailing instead and seeing how the incremental revenue is improving. That's what you have to do.
He's saying, look at the moving average, not the exact price every single day.
So let me show you guys what I mean. Hold on one second. I gotta sign in to something before I have to.
Carlos, what was your while you're doing that? What was your take on Path, Carlos? That fell 30%. Any thoughts on?
No, my comment that I was going to make is when you were saying like Adobe, and these other companies, they're just fundamentally different businesses. Even though they're all using AI, I don't think you can compare Adobe.
Yeah, I'm only trying to compare them from a SaaS perspective. That's all. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yes, but like Adobe's software has a different level of importance in the industries that it operates in versus some of these other companies.
Yeah, but the market doesn't care, dude. They just want to see growth.
It doesn't matter, but it has to do with the adoption of it and how resistant it is to being sold off.
Carlos, my point is that if there's not a real AI offering, that's where the resistance comes from. If it was truly amazing AI, there would be no resistance.
Wait, you're saying Adobe?
Yeah, I'm saying Adobe's AI, which is, again, their AI mode is you type in girl on a horse and a girl on a horse pops up. There's like 17 other websites that can do that. So on Adobe, on the earnings call, this is what I heard in Q4. They said, hey, our moat is not just you type in girl with a horse. Our moat is when you want to edit that girl on a horse, you can edit it via Premiere and people will pay us $30 a month. And my argument is that's stupid. Most people are not going to pay $30 a month to edit an AI video because most people are not professional editors. And that's the majority of the revenue. It's subscription revenue, which is why I think they don't really have an AI moat, because if Canva can do girl on a horse for $12 a month, which is what I pay for,
No, actually, I would disagree with you because it's not just about the professional users. More and more people, more and more content creators are using Premiere to create, right?
But that's what I disagree with, dude. I'm a
So when
content
you
creator
go
full
to-
time. I don't use that shit. No one uses Adobe if
No.
you're like in content. No one's paying $30 a month
You're
for that.
doing live shows most of the time. Most people that edit their content most of them are likely to be editing in Premiere. And I'm not even talking about those content creators. I'm talking about the production companies that use those. Most of the production companies that use Adobe software also have deals for stock footage. You also have all these other things that you pay for every month. Whereas now you can roll that into your Adobe subscription and you'll probably save money versus the other companies that you were using for that service.
So two things. The production companies are not the mass market in terms of creators. Second of all, dude, I know a lot of creators, no one uses Adobe. We use simple software like Wondershare, Filmora. Maybe if you're Casey Neistat or something, you use Adobe. But most people are not shilling out $30 a month to clip a video.
That's 100% not true. Most people are.
Well, the numbers are there. They're growing 8% year over year. The numbers show it in Adobe. Most people are. Most of like the average consumer is using Premiere. I would say. No. The average consumer is not paying $30. They're using Canva for free.
You're saying that most of those videos are edited in Canva.
100 or Wondershare, Filmora, 100%.
No, it's not. It's not true. You can't do those.
And the number, dude. Adobe's earnings kind of prove my point. But
well, I mean, it's mature now. They've had this subscription going for a while. It's not.
That's my point. If AI is supposed to be a catalyst for a mature business, just like Salesforce, and it's not increasing, it's not a catalyst.
AI, you have to understand, AI to them is an upsell to their existing customers. It's not like they're going to put this AI thing and someone's going to go, that's the reason why we use Adobe.
But that's my point.
You're already using Adobe and you're paying 10 or 15 bucks a month for subscription services to stock houses. And you're going, forget this. Let's use this tool.
Dude, that's my point. If AI is just an upsell, same thing with Salesforce is just an upsell, and they're not upselling it.
But the thing is, in this industry, that's about as far as you can take it until you get to the point where you say, now we're going to use AI, where you stick a script and then it pumps out an entirely finished either television show or a movie for you. That's the next level of it, right? But that's not where it's going to be. It's still going to be a tool that's helping creatives be more productive. That's what it is. So I don't think Adobe is even a good company to even compare when it comes to talking about companies in the AI space. They're using AI, but they're not an AI company.
All right,
okay,
Kris.
so when you guys are doing analysis, one of the things that you want to see is what's going on with revenue growth. One of the reasons why Palantir has been going higher, and I'll give them the credit for it, is that if you look at what happened in 2023 in the what is that thing called, the second quarter, their growth rate was 12%. Okay, revenue growth rate was slowed down like crazy.
That was a bad quarter.
That's why
that was a bad one. Yep.
Right? They had a bad quarter, but you can see that it was generally trending down. They literally were growing before this in 2021, 48%. They went down to 35%, and it was just a constant disappointment in terms of growth rate, right? The reason why you smooth things out is because what's going to happen is you can help average out and figure out what the general trend is. Now, the general trend, just looking quarter over quarter, is that their growth is accelerating, but that's only because their comps from last year are easier, right? So if you're looking at the comp from, let's say 2020, like the fourth quarter of 2023, it's 608 million. You're looking at 508 here. So it looks like, oh my God, you had a great one, but that's because last quarter, the year before, it had slowed down. Same thing with the next quarter. If you're comping against last quarter, like of last year, they were growing at 12%, which means that this quarter, it's likely that they're going to actually outpace that. But once again, it's because you're comping against like easy numbers from last year. So if you look at this on a trailing basis, you can see that, yes, their revenue growth is improving, but for the most part, it's not improving that much. It's right now, it's growing at about 17% year over year. This right here is what you want to see accelerate much faster in order to get its valuation to make sense. Right now, Palantir's valuation in terms of just software multiples is super, super high. Okay.
And then when can we look at the trailing on Snowflake? Just out of curiosity.
Sure. There it is here.
Okay, so Snowflake's is 35, and the same time frame you talked about 21, it was at 70%. So why isn't that massively slowing down?
But look at their total revenue per quarter. That's the thing.
I get it. Well, why is it? Hold on. If their revenue per quarter is greater than Palantir and their growth rate is greater than Palantir, why is the stock down 50% all time and 40% this year?
Because they're still slowing down significantly. They're still slowing down significantly.
But okay, so hold on. We just came to the conclusion both Palantir and Snowflake are slowing down significantly. One of them has a stock that's up. that has way more shares than Snowflake, by the way, 2 billion shares outstanding. The other one has a stock that's abysmally down this year. Don't you think there's a qualitative part we have to talk about then outside of quantitative?
No, that means that
maybe
it's
the market
overvalued.
feels there is something special to Palantir
I mean,
outside of Snowflake. Because
I know you'd like that to be true, but the markets just don't hand out their money like that.
So then why is Palantir up over Snowflake? Someone answer.
Listen, I am
It's
not
me. I
expert
can't
on
pump it
those
to the
two
moon.
businesses to compare them, but to say what
Just
it is,
remember,
that Wall Street's not
just remember, there were people paying $50 million for monkey pictures. Okay, at one point.
Yeah,
so
don't be disrespectful, dude. Don't compare that to Palantir.
The market. I'm just trying to show you. Yeah.
If Snowflake is aggressively slowing down on a trailing 12 month, just like Palantir, one stock is up, one stock is down, all time and year to date. My question becomes, maybe investors, by the way, Palantir also has a lower institutional float, are seeing something a little bit more valuable on a qualitative perspective, which is giving them the potential, whether it's the government business, the AIP, whatever it may be, to say, hey, let's take a bet on those guys over Snowflake. And I feel like you're ignoring and discounting the qualitative argument because you're so arrogant, I'm not saying that in a mean way, but you're so
arrogant when it comes to this
to such an extent that you're forgetting that you loved Palantir at one point and you love them for a reason. And maybe that reason actually is the reason why they're up right now over something like Snowflake.
I think right now we are at a point where
just come back, Kris. Dump the Snowflake, take the L, come back to us. It'll be okay. We'll accept you with open arms.
No, thank you. I'm good.
All right, let's talk about Trump. So Trump's guilty. Carlos, what was your reaction to 34 out of 34 guilty verdicts?
I think I saw it on Twitter, and then I saw your tweet, and I wrote right away. I responded to you. Did they just hand him the election?
Well, so let's start the discussion there. Do you think, because the election affects the stock market, do you think he's going to be sentenced on July 11th? Probably not going to jail, but we'll get some type of sentencing.
Right.
He still has 3 more trials to deal with outside of the hush money trial. Do you think he goes to jail? Or not? Do you think he becomes the president because of this?
It would seem like this is handing him the election.
Why?
Because he's been saying forever that people have been trying to get him, that the system is rigged. And now something that's been out for several years comes back the year that he is the presumptive nominee. It seems to be lining up with the narrative that he's been painting. And even if it's not true, a lot of people will believe him. So what you're seeing now is what I think the playbook's going to be for the next few months. Like, this is going to be the nail that they are going to be hammering home for the next few months. Convicted, felon, et cetera, et cetera. That's what the talking points is going to be for that side. So,
and by the way, the whole thing that you said, by the way, that Trump is the first one to be a criminal, bro. Bill Clinton committed perjury. You remember that?
No, I didn't say that. I just quoted the Wall Street Journal. I just wrote that. That was the Wall Street Journal's headline, so I just copy and pasted it.
He committed perjury.
Yeah.
I didn't even know if that was right. Again, I was just like, all right, the Wall Street Journal said it, so that's like correct, I guess.
Yeah. No, it's just it goes to show that, in my opinion, okay, because we have to be very clear with this. It's my opinion. I wouldn't call.
By the way, before you talk, for everyone in the chat who's up in arms about this, these are opinions. You can believe whatever political belief you want, but Kris and Carlos, they have their own opinions, including
and share your opinions there too. Share your opinions.
Yeah, feel free to share your opinions. Go ahead, Kris.
I think this guy has been completely railroaded. Okay. I don't know. It's because like he scares the shit out of the people that are in power and in charge, the bureaucrats, whatever you want to call about it. And basically they're doing everything in their power to say, you know what, we need to put a stop to this guy and his popularity. So a lot of people are basically weaponizing, I think, the existing laws to make things fit his crime. So as an example, Jeannie Carroll, right? That's, in my opinion, that's probably the most defining one of the lawfare against Trump. You could say all these other little things, whatever, but Jeannie Carroll, do you guys know New York State, right? New York State, there is a statute of limitations on which you can say that someone someone sexually harassed or abused, whatever, right? Do you know what New York State did? New York State amended their laws to say, no, you know what? The statute of limitations, we're changing that.
Yeah.
Right. And allowed the just amount of many years as Trump is from that thing. So
Yeah.
you're telling me you changed the law
Mhm.
basically to find this guy, basically you changed the law just to make sure that he was able to be kind of trialed for it. So imagine right now you're like, you know what? I need to get Trump. So I need to figure out what I can get him with. So let's change the laws around him to basically make him a guilty party, right? So it's almost like you're driving on the road, you're driving a 55, at 55, and the cops say, you know what? Let's change the freaking laws now. Let's make it 45, right? And now all of a sudden you're guilty. That is fucked up. That is really fucked up. So these are the kinds of things that are happening in the background. Hillary Clinton said that the election was stolen. Did anyone go after her? Anyone ever go after her with remember the emails that she deleted and all that stuff? No, but Trump, he's a national security threat.
Oh, there was a great compilation that somebody cut of all of the election denying that happened in 2016.
Yeah.
Afterwards, and I had forgotten about so much of it, but you're like, oh, it really was exactly the same, illegitimate president, he didn't win, et cetera, et cetera.
Now, the market wasn't really affected by this after hours. So do you think the market doesn't care if he actually ends up getting convicted?
I don't think he cares. I don't think the market cares.
Like the S&P, like Trump stock fell, but like the S&P was unchanged.
I think it only matters what happens in November.
I don't know, man. I like I said,
He's not
this
moving
entire
market.
I'm beginning to think that Trump is not going to win this election. I actually thought about that earlier. It's almost like a spit in the face to every person to have Biden on the other side of the ticket.
Yeah.
You know why? Because we clearly know he's like a dementiaed out old man. He's got no fucking clue what the hell is going on. And you know what? They could have run someone who's actually charismatic, who actually knows what he's doing, who's actually competent. But they're like, no, we are so confident in our ability to fuck you that we're going to put the least electable guy against this guy and we're going to make him win. Just to show and prove a point that you actually have no fucking real power. So
that's what I've been feeling is like, it seems so obvious that if you want to win, you don't do what you're doing. But the fact that these things are happening make me feel like it's like you already know that you're going to win. It's like the fix is in. And so it doesn't really matter what happens because we know that we've got the vote. So let's just play this theater out as much as possible. Because if you're I think you're a true Democratic strategist, this is not the way that you would go about winning. So I'm like, it's like what Kris says, either it's like if there's a fix or they know that some black swan event's happening or something. But I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't feel like a normal election year. Does it feel like that to you? And it's even more than just about him, about Trump being in court every couple of days.
Well, do you think the majority of the American people actually feel he should be in jail, or it's the opposite?
I would say 50-50. That's the idea. Your blue states, yes. Your red states, no.
If you hate Trump, you hate Trump. There's no getting around it. Trust me, there's no convincing you that you do not like, that Trump has good redeeming qualities, even though he probably has some good redeeming qualities. Now, are there enough people that are going to be convinced that, hey, maybe Trump is better for the country than Biden? I don't know. We'll see about that. But as far as control goes, Biden is like the fucking Manchurian candidate, in my opinion. You guys know what the Manchurian candidate
No,
is?
what does Manchurian mean?
The Manchurian candidate is like basically the
movie. There was a movie in the 50s, and then they redid it with Denzel Washington later on.
Foreign policy. Someone's like, what qualities? Foreign policy. Tell me, how many wars did Trump start? How many wars did Trump get us into? We had the Abraham Accords in the Middle East where they finally had some traction, getting things back and forth. We didn't get invaded, like Russia didn't invade.
Didn't worry about Rocket Man anymore.
Yeah, I mean, dude, there's.
Dude, he did shake hands. Dude, he went across the border with North Korea, dude, and
and I remember the press like literally going after him with that, and it's like, you can only make friends with your enemies. You can't make friends with your friends. That's not how it works. Like, you can't just go and shake your friend's hand and be like, oh my God, look, I'm promoting peace. No, all you're doing is shaking your friend's hand. No, you got to go across the aisle.
Okay, so speaking of making friends with your enemy, Carlos, I know you got a lot to say about this. I'll let Kris go first. Elon embracing the guy who hates EVs. Kris, you think it's smart on Elon?
I think it's smart on both people, man. Trump, at the end of the day, he's a pragmatist. No matter how many people think he's an idiot, he's stupid. You don't become a multi-billionaire without being some level of pragmatist, right? So he knows the EVs are the future, right? But once again, he also needs the oil and gas industry to back him, right? So I think what he's doing is very smart in that he's like, listen, Elon, we will do whatever we can to get you together, but he's also not ignoring the oil industry. Because right now, if you throw in with the EVs, the oil industry throw their money at Biden and co, and then screw you over. So no, you gotta politically play this like game where it's like, hey, Elon, I think the EVs are the future, but I can't openly go in the public and say, you know what, fuck all these oil companies, I'm gonna decimate them. Biden does that all the time. Like, oh, I think EVs are gonna be the future, but only if you buy a Ford. Well, you see how fucking stupid that is.
He had that Facebook post that was like, in the future, all cars will be EVs made by American union workers. And you're like, is that a decree? Are you like demanding that? So basically, every other company's got to go, meaning Tesla.
Okay, Carlos, why is Elon embracing him?
The thing is, Trump knows he fucked up. I don't know if you heard about what he had said about abortion, and he's still trying to walk that back.
Yeah.
So he made some stupid comments trying to get out there and talk too much to the base or talk too much to poll votes, and he's been walking that back. So I think this is a strategic play. The other thing is, he more than anybody knows how powerful Twitter is as a platform. And so he can't be on that strategically because of truth, but this is a way, he's got a proxy way to be in to Twitter. And so he gets the best of both worlds. He doesn't break his pact with Truth Social, but he also gets the benefit of that. So, and the reality is, I think what Kris is saying is true. I think behind the scenes, they have these conversations. You've heard him praise Elon Musk before, especially for the rocket side of it. So you could definitely see that there's like a public faith.
He likes to build the rockets.
The rockets Elon, like down and so
he makes big, beautiful rockets.
It's the easiest. If Elon is a savvy business guy, which I think he is, he would know exactly how to talk to Trump to be able to get him to walk back some of these things that would affect his companies. But
so hold on.
It would be a bomb EV summit. Wouldn't that be? That would be.
I do want to take one step back and just clarify one thing though. The same lawfare that Biden and co are using against Trump, they're using similar tactic against Elon. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
And SpaceX.
Yeah.
So remember the whole thing with SpaceX where they're like, oh, you're not hiring enough foreign nationals. And then so Trump is going to, I'm not allowed to hire foreign nationals. Yeah. So what are you coming at me with? So it just goes to show that now
it's like Elon feels solidarity with Trump in terms of being isolated by the current political establishment.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
There's a lot, there's a case to be made that what turned Elon on this path was being ignored from the EV summit. I think,
which is insane.
He really expected to be part of that. I think he expected that whatever had happened during the lockdowns and him wanting to keep his factories open, hey, that was business. But when we're talking about the future, I really think that was something.
Dude,
and now you've made it's like what Kris says about live long enough to be the villain. That's what it was. He was like, oh, you're making me the villain now.
Bro,
like now
to me, when I heard that, that's like not inviting Edison to the light bulb conference. You know what I mean? Like you had the guy who basically popularized.
That's like not inviting Kris to the call debit spread conference, dude. Like there's only 5 people on the planet that know how to do this shit. Like it's insane, dude. Okay, do you think also he feels that he can budge Trump on EVs and can get him to come to the center?
100%. All he has to do is make it seem like it would help. It would make him look good in some way. It would make America look good in some way. It would give him an advantage over their adversaries, whatever it is. You just have to tell him how it benefits him.
Yeah.
Don't tell him about what you want or what the future is. You say, look, China's doing this. They're all doing this, right? It's the same sort of deal. And I think he would go along with it.
If Trump doesn't win, do you think there's gonna be a civil war? Like a January 6th type of event?
No, there's too much fluoride in the water and we're too docile. Did you guys hear about that?
Yeah.
No, wait, what's this?
Joe Rogan, the guy on Joe Rogan talking about the fluoride in the water. The fluoride in the water and the toothpaste. Fluoride's a bad element. You should have it near you. And the idea is like you have all this fluoride in the water in your toothpaste and it's actually lowering IQs.
But and they're trying to make frogs gay. Remember that? You guys know about that?
Yeah, I know.
You don't know about that?
No, we know about
biology. That's not anyone doing it. That's biology.
No, dude, there's a conspiracy, dude, that's going around. They're trying to turn the frogs gay. Alex Jones put it out there. Y'all don't know about that?
We know about that, dude. Everyone knows about that. He's been talking about it for years. What's the Robinhood arbitrage, Kris?
Well, it's technically not an arbitrage, but okay. So, like, let's say you want to go buy a house, right? Robinhood, right?
I know what you're going to talk about.
Go ahead, say it then.
Robinhood slash their margin rates, which is essentially the interest rate you would be paying on basically a loan from Robinhood, from 12% to 6.75%, which is the lowest outside of every broker outside of IBKR.
Right. And also 30-year mortgages. If you want to get a 30-year mortgage right now, you're going to be paying, you have to get appraisals and all this other stuff. Well, one of the things, if your portfolio is high enough, what you could do is just get a margin loan from Robinhood, right? And use that to pay your mortgage. The good thing is when interest rates come down, you could refinance and finance it out. Now just keep the money in cash. Otherwise you'll fall below your margin requirements and you'll get screwed over that way. The other thing that you could do is, and I know some of the brokers are doing something called, you know what? I'm not going to talk about it because I think that goes too much into like financial advice. So not going there.
Yeah, speaking of which, what was that test that you were taking?
Kris. Okay, why don't you announce to everyone officially what you're trying to do in terms of taking some tests and what happened this week? Go ahead.
Okay, so I took the Series 65, which is basically an exam that lets you. It's for a registered investment advisor. So if you get certified as a registered investment advisor, you have to get registered by the state also. So you pass this test, you get registered by the state, you can open your own fund. And you can use the fund, like you can take investor money to do stuff with. You can also do personalized investor, like, you can craft portfolios for investors as well, where, you can help people manage their finances.
That's Kris saying his Patreon's going up $100 in like 2
that's Kris saying he's about to raise some serious money in the coming years. That's Kris saying I'm ready to become the next Bill fucking Ackman, dude. That's what Kris is basically hinting at.
So one of the things that I ended up not paying it. Well, I should have paid it a little bit more attention. So one of the sections was the law section, was probably one of my weaker sections. Like securities, like economics and securities were really good. But dude, let me tell you, there are so many laws and gray areas within the finance industry that they can get you really confused. And so a lot of stuff is very, in my opinion, you have to like unlearn things that work for you, and you have to like become very rigid with their way of thinking, right? And for their stuff is very like fundamentals based. So like I'll give you guys an example of a question that, so right now, if I said to you guys, you have a client who's at a 15% tax bracket, he wants to remain relatively conservative, right? But he also wants to make money that will help supplement his income, right? How would you go about doing that? What would you recommend him? Like, what kind of securities would you recommend him?
Right.
So what would you guys do?
I mean, it starts with a P.
Palantir, you see?
I failed that fucking exam. I just do like Palantir. But imagine I passed the exam and I just answer Palantir for everything. That'd be kind of cool.
So that answer is very subjective to that person, but you could do something like municipal bonds. Municipal bonds have they're tax free, so it's really beneficial to have that. Then you have U.S. Treasuries, which can give you that safety, but the yield on Treasuries is really low. So, and Treasuries also have a lot of duration risk. So you have to also know, like, is this guy an old guy or is he a young guy? Is he looking for?
Because if you're locked in for 10 years,
I can't hear you, Amit.
I said if you're locked in for 10 years,
Amit, we can't hear you.
Oh, really?
Your mic crapped out. But the point is, you have to do a lot of like tailoring for that specific section. So,
you hear me now?
So the question is, how much is the course going to be first? That's what everybody wants to know. They're like, all right, get to the number. How much?
Is it me? Did I just go blank?
What?
Can you hear? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. You were actually fine while he was saying you weren't. So I don't know if.
Also, maybe that was Kris. Maybe that was Kris.
Actually got.
Let me switch my mic back.
I don't know why it just capped out for me.
What about now, Kris? You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, when you talk about bonds, you're like, if someone gets locked into a 10-year bond or something, that's the duration risk you're talking about, right?
Yeah. So like, let's say right now there are people who bought 10-year bonds 2 years ago and they're getting like barely a point or two, like a percentage or two, right? Now you're carrying on a shit ton of duration risk because now you've got 30 years worth of underperformance on that bond, you know? So it means that the yield on it is going to be super low, but then the price of that bond is also going to be going down significantly. So the thing is, you have to know those kinds of things, you know? Do you guys understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. But I'm saying, but
Yeah.
if that's with our current rate environment. But if you've got, say, a 5% yield and then the Fed starts to lower rates, it actually becomes more attractive for those longer bonds.
Right. But that's the thing. You have to know it based not on like the number today, but based on the theory. But the theory. So that's where you have to ascertain: does this guy need the money now, or does he need the money 15 years from now? You know, because if he needs it 15 years from now, he's super risk averse, he doesn't want to pay additional taxes, then that would be a good recommendation for that guy, right? So all those categories would fit for him, you know? But on the other hand, this is where you have to really assess your client and figure out what their goals are and then tailor investments to that, you know? If you have someone young, 25 years old, who's, you know, they want to be very speculative, then you put them in securities and equities, right? You don't have to put them in bonds because they don't necessarily care about the price as much. And they have 20, 30 years of capital appreciation to go versus someone who's like 55 and saying, you know what, I want to retire in 2 years. Like, no, that person should not be invested in a lot of stocks. They should be invested mostly in a fixed income portfolio with a lot of safety built in, not even like corporate debt or high yield. Like, you need straight treasuries at that point because you can't risk losing your money at that age.
So then wouldn't it make sense when rates do go up to pick up a couple of those long dated treasuries to sort of lock that in anticipation of the rates coming back down?
That's true too. But that's, once again, it could be, that's the key that you have to do when it comes to duration, right? Where if you think that rates are going to stay elevated for a longer period of time, right, then it doesn't make sense to be in that. Right? Because now you're going to see that bond not really appreciate very much, you know? So if you're thinking that in the future rates are going to come down, which right now, which is why the yield curve is so inverted, right? Then yes, it would be a good idea to buy the long bond. So
what is, I mean, we're talking about it openly right now. I knew Kris was on this journey for about a month or two now. What is the goal, Kris, after you get this, after you pass the test? Do you have other tests you have to pass? And then I guess 2 years.
Of course, he's gonna sell a fund.
Yeah, is the course the inevitable end of this, Kris? What are you trying to do?
I'm not gonna sell a course. I am still trying to figure out the best way to structure it, because you also have to create, not only are you designing, you know, your own portfolios for these people, but you're also, remember, you're building a business, right? So you have to figure out ways to monetize that business. So is it going to be investment advisory? That's what I want to do. Or is it, hey, I want to launch a fund where people can just put money into it, right? And then even when people put money into it, do I want only accredited investors that'll let me put money towards things that are a lot more, what's the word, gray, you know, versus being a lot more retail focused, you know? And the thing is, everything that you do has to be very, very like well thought out going into the future. Because the last thing you want to do is build a business and then you can't run it properly, and then you end up like the business just gets destroyed, you know? So a lot of this stuff is,
so ultimately you want to be registered enough so that in the future you're giving yourself the optionality to say, hey, if there is a big whale out there that maybe they're even in the chat that wants to give me $5 million to start up this fund and let me play around, maybe start a Kris Patel ETF, then I can do that. And if I can get some exceptional returns, maybe I can raise $50 million one day. That's basically the long-term goal. Yeah. And I think it makes a lot of sense, because
of course would be more fun. I think
of course would be more fun. I think it makes a lot of sense because dude, it's pretty objective. We've seen Kris has had, I think, at least 10 wins, like real wins, like SMCI type of wins, Wingstop wins, Weight Watchers wins, over the past 18 months. And so I think it makes sense that maybe if you had more capital to play with, you could really.
All right, guys. So
there's also
once you meet Kris, that has a nice ring to it, right?
There's also the other thing is,
I mean,
becoming bigger, the becoming really big is also not just the end goal. Like, yes, AUM, assets under management, makes a lot of sense. Like, the more asset under management that you get, the more money that you'll get as performance fees. So that's always nice. The problem that you run into though is that the more money that you have that you're managing, the better, and you have to be a lot more disciplined with which kind of companies that you invest in, because now you're also running into liquidity, right? Where you can't just move a million. Like right now, you could put an order in for 1,000 shares of Palantir. That shit'll get filled in a heartbeat, right? But if you're managing $20 million, you're like, yeah, I need to buy. I want to buy a giant stake in Palantir and expose my portfolio to that. It's going to be hard sourcing, 1 million shares to get that done. I mean, for Palantir, maybe not, because there's a shit ton of liquidity, but some of the more creative things are there. The other thing is there's a lot of opportunities that are open to investors that are accredited, but they're not open to retail investors. So by doing certain structures, I would be basically giving up the ability to go into that kind of market, So like I said, it's all about figuring out how to structure the business so that this way I can.
I love this idea. I think it's smart. There's actually a lot of people in the world that manage money. That like managing money is not only reserved for Ross Gerber. Like there's people that manage $5-10 million. He manages $2 billion, but Kathy does $6 billion. But people manage small amounts of money. And I think you managing $1 to $5 million in the next couple of years, showing your strategy works, and then raising 20, 30, 40 million, who knows, 100 to it, maybe you get to $1 billion in 10 years. Like that would be a cool story because you started.
Yeah.
I think the milestones for me would be 10 million first, 25, and then 50, and then 100. The reason why is because 10 million gets me to the point where the AUM would pay for everything that I need to get the research done, to pay for all because a lot of these things require it would require a lot of paperwork to go along with it. So I think a lot of people think that it's just easy. You could just do the thing. Nah, there's a lot of things that you have to do. You have to do a lot of filings, with the SEC, with the state regulators. So there's that. And then once you hit 25, you're basically breaking even. So anyone right now with an ETF that has under 25 million, they're probably not even making money.
Wow.
Because it costs about 250,000 just to like run it, to make sure all the regulatory parts are done, all the stuff that you need is done. So if they're not managing a minimum 25 mil
clients,
or their performance fees are so massive that it doesn't make sense. So here's an example. Like if let's say you charge a 1% management fee, right? 25 million is going to give you a break even. Anything above that, it's all you get to make performance money. So if you don't have $25 million lined up behind you, you're basically just working to pay the people running everything else, right? After that, you start actually making money. So at 50 million, you make about 250,000, and then once you go above that, now here's the thing: when you do accredited investors, you can actually pay for you can get paid for performance.
Right.
So now you're not only sharing in the total assets managed, but you're also sharing in the performance of the profits. Yeah. So if you look at traditional hedge funds, they do 2 and 20. So they do 2% of assets managed and 20% of profits. Right. So if there's zero profits, all they're going to do is get 2% of the assets under management. On the other hand, if they were able to generate their client, let's say $100 million, that would give them $20 million of performance fees.
Well, I would, if I was on the board, I would approve that compensation package, and I would look forward to a few years later having a Delaware judge take all that money back. And I would say,
so let's just say,
no one.
If there's any whales in the chat that are interested in what Kris is talking about, just DM him, start a relationship with him. If you really do have some money you want to allocate, and maybe you're comfortable with Kris potentially managing it. I mean, Kris is going to have to raise money eventually. It's either going to be from someone we know, or he's going to have connections to some. Here's my thing. I think objectively, Kris is going to raise the 25 million he needs in the next couple of years. Our network is getting bigger, but if someone's in the chat and wants to,
it's going to be a process. It's going to be a process.
Right. There's nothing official yet or anything. Literally, you would have to DM it, get to know him, who he is.
Right.
But if someone's interested, It would be really cool if it happens from here.
Cameron 706.
What is that? Last question, Kris. Do you feel any pressure of starting this and potentially managing people's money, or do you feel like your approach is ready to do that at a large scale?
I think I got a little too excited at first. I'm a little bit like just taking a step back now and just saying, you know what? I need a very well thought out strategy on how to monetize. Because the thing is, you when you're dealing with your own money, you can be very flexible. You can move things around. You can do X, Y, Z. When you're managing other people's money, you have to be a lot more thoughtful. You have to be a lot more careful. You have to be very cognizant of what the other person is willing to risk and what they're not willing to risk. Because the last thing you want to deal with is a client that's pissed off and irate because you took a position in something that they have a fundamental like adverse relationship to. Like, look at Michael Burry. Even though Michael Burry made all his investors money in the great financial crisis, they were pissed because they're like, you freaking risked a lot of the shit. We don't like that, you know. So when you're managing people's money, it's a little bit different. So you have to figure out ways to basically make it work so that you're not spending your entire time doing client management rather than really doing the investment research portion of it. Then you also need investors that are like-minded and that have enough faith in your ideas. Because a lot of times what you're doing is you're not selling anything but ideas. Like right now, I think Carnival Cruise Lines is one of the most undervalued companies in the S&P 500, right? But they may not agree to that. They don't want to take a huge amount of exposure to it. Now, the thing is, do they have enough money in the fund to say, you know what, Kris, I trust you enough to like rely on your CCL play. And if they don't have it, they could say, you know what, cash me out, redeem me. And now I have to like take a huge, you know, I have to sell a position just to pay them out. And it's like, no, I can't do that, you know? Well, so a lot of times it's more complicated.
The other part of it too is receiving a ton of inflows at a time, say when valuations are really rich, and being forced to deploy capital when everything is already expensive.
What I might do, and this is something I
know, I agree, Kris. I think that's right.
No, I'm not going to buy Bitcoin. I might really reach out. I might reach out into my network and see if I can shadow someone who works in the industry already.
Good idea. It's a good idea.
You know, because the thing is, like, you learn a lot more from watching them and doing their thing. Now, the thing is, I have a full-time job right now, but that would also mean that now I have to quit my full-time job and work with them exclusively on certain things. So I would be pitching my ideas. They would be saying, okay, this is what you're learning. This is what you need to do, blah, 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 and like learn the industry. And then also do it in a way that doesn't compete against their core business, you know? So it's kind of like, does anyone need a protege to, you know, like, that's the thing. Like, imagine right now being an intern for Bill Ackman, right? Imagine what that guy is learning. Now,
which is what I think Bill Ackman did in the early. He interned for someone else.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing, though. Everyone else, they have a classical background in finance. I don't have that. My degree is in biochemistry. I'm completely out of the finance world. I didn't go to NYU Stern. I didn't go to Columbia. So a lot of people, they're not even going to bother wasting their time and saying, you know what, I'm going to give some kid a shot on YouTube on how to invest, you know, and how to manage people's money. So that's going to be harder. But, you know, I'm always of the mind that whatever doors are in front of me, either people will let me through them or I'll freaking create my own door.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
So we'll see what happens.
Well, with YouTube and X, you have a long history, right? You have the receipts.
That's the other thing. I can have my portfolio. I have my portfolio performance too, which, believe it or not, absolutely rocks. So I don't know.
Yeah. And one final thing I'll say, guys, Kris is not raising any money yet. So no one's asking for money or anything like that. It's just if you want to get to know him.
Stop Venmoing a bit right now.
Yeah. If you want to get to know him, reach out to him. Just say, hey, I want to get to know who you are. Talk to him if you want to develop a relationship. But there's no formal raise of money. And if that ever happens, it would be much more formal than how we're talking right now.
Than doing it just on a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not the traditional finance guy. But that also means that I haven't learned a lot of the bad habits that financial people have learned. All right. One thing I realized over my last 10 years of investing can become very, very dogmatic, right? And basically you become a part of the fucking herd. And when
Yeah.
you become a part of the herd, you tend to follow the herd over the hill and underperform. So like right now, if you look at most people who manage money, you know what they say? Like they can't even beat the S&P 500.
Yeah.
So what did you really learn then? You went to Columbia, you went to Stern, and you blew up a $300 million hedge fund. What does that tell you? You know, so a lot of these things, the way that I would pitch myself, I'd be like, look, I'm a clean slate. Unlike these other goons who basically come with a pre-cooked, you know, like they've already got an idea of what to do. No, I learned all this shit from scratch. I'm doing it myself.
You lost your own money in the beginning to learn
That's
the
right.
losses, right?
Yeah, yeah. That means I won't lose your money because I lost my own. Right? That's a good pitch. That's a good pitch.
But I'm done losing money. I've already lost all of mine.
All right, super exciting stuff. Next week I'm not gonna be on any of the episodes. I'm gonna be in California for like the whole week.
Oh shit!
So
What part?
I'll text you. I haven't told people why, but I'll text you. But so
Okay.
if you guys do the show, yes, that's great. If not, then we'll be back.
Yeah, we'll do it. Or we'll talk after.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Cool. Okay, this is awesome. I'm about to do another podcast on my channel, guys, about Palantir. So if you guys want to listen to Palantir, Kris, you're joining, right? You're definitely joining for an hour, 10:15 to 11:15. What else would you do?
Look, man, I believe this company is a great company. I think it has a good future.
All right,
I
guys,
just don't
I
the
gotta
fucking valuation
Bye,
right
Carlos.
now, dude. The valuation right now is the only thing stopping me. Okay, if the valuation comes down enough, I'm in it again with you guys. All right, I'm your boy again, but the valuation has to come down. Sorry.
All right. Well, all right, cool. We'll see you guys next
Later.
week and keep going from there.
Take care.
Bye, everyone. Have a good one.